Go ahead and start just entering your question into the chat, and I'll just take it in that sequence as they show up. And if you want to speak to that question, I'll unmute you, and then we can discuss the question. So I'll just get the ball rolling a little bit. So some of the things I've been hearing. Oh, great. Mail merge. Do you have a video that we can about mail merge? Yes, we have several videos actually. Let me just show you how to find them. All you got to do is go into youtube.com/ProbateData and then click on our videos channel. And then in there, what you can do is you can search for mail merge. And then inside the results, you can choose. I've done a few of them. We had a guy named Marcel back in the day do it. He did a really extensive one. He's a more patient teacher than I am. So he actually did it really, he broke it down step by step. So let me help you find that. So today, for those of you arriving, what we're doing today is kind of open forum, ask me anything around probate's real estate. It could be anything like just what Claire just asked, like how do we do mail merge, where's the video on that? And so before I show what a mail merge is, let me just explain what mail merge actually does. So it allows you to take your list, like an Excel spreadsheet of say 100 different leads that you have of PRs, and you want to send a letter to them. You don't want to sit and type out each letter. So what you can do is you can take a Microsoft Word document where you have your standard letter, and then you merge in all the custom fields. So you merge in the address, the name, the address, if you want the case number, the name of the decedent, the property address. You merge it all into the standard document. You push a button, and now you've got 100 letters you can print out and send out. So let me show you where those videos are and how to find them. Very straightforward. I'm going to share my screen in here in just a second. So again, if you go to youtube.com/ProbateData, it'll take you to our video channel. And I'll post the link in our chat as well.
Okay.
So here are all the videos, right? So what you can see here, there's a little search icon. So you just hit that, and then I would do mail merge, hit enter. And here's one that I did 4 months ago. So I did a mail merge. And then there's one from 4 years ago and 8 years ago. So we've had this channel for quite some time, and 4 years ago. So what you probably notice is that not a lot has changed in the technology front in terms of mail merge. So you can go and watch this one. Here, Claire, you want me to just post this one in the chat so you can go and grab it and watch it?
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, let's do that. How do I do that? I guess I got to select it. Share it. Sharing is caring, as they teach in kindergarten. All right, so here we go. I want to go ahead and share that over here. Oops, make sure it's sent out to everyone in meeting. Okay. Okay, so Janine Nelson, emails nuts, sent emails rejected. I keep getting responses like this. Suspects, your message is spam and rejected it. Janine, do you wanna maybe unmute yourself and tell me what you're doing and what you're trying to get done and what you're putting in your emails, and I can help you get through that.
Hi, I basically am following the floor plan or the blueprint you guys give us. And so I do individual emails, but for some reason I keep getting them rejected from, different servers or companies thinking that they're spam. I don't know if I'm doing too many or what, and I use GoDaddy.
So you're sending an email out to the petitioner. Are you putting any attachments in there? What are you sending?
I am putting in like the steps of the probate, and I try and personalize it, but I don't know if it's just, I'm kind of new to all this, as you see by my chat I sent you. I just don't know if other people are having that issue. I don't know how to change it up to be able to get my emails received by the person I'm sending them to.
Yeah, so you do me a favor, email me right now, like the letters that you try to send out, email me to info@probatedata.com and just send me like a sample email. I'll take a look at it while we answer other questions, and we'll come back, and then maybe if there's an issue with it, it'll be a good learning experience for everybody, and I'll share it on the screen if you don't mind, and we can discuss it. How do you think of that?
I will do that, but a lot of times I'll send it to you. You can see what I get. I'll try.
Yeah,
that.
yeah, send it to me. Send me the original email that you tried to send out, but also forward me a rejected email message, and we'll take a look at it. So info@probatedata.com, and just we'll come back to that in a little bit. All right. All right. For those of you that are joining us right now, we're doing open forum. So ask us anything around probate real estate. It could be anything technical, is like, why are my emails being rejected? How do I find phone numbers? How do I log into probate data? What is probate? Anything under the sun. It doesn't bother me. And if I can't answer it, I'm sure someone here on the meeting can answer it. All right. So Jimmy Stewart to everyone. How do you construct letters in Spanish? Learn Spanish. Learn Spanish or use Google Translate. But here's the trick with Google Translate. You can paste in the entire letter into Google Translate, and it'll give you the Spanish version. But here's what I recommend. If you really want to take this serious, you want to reach the Spanish market, I mean, what are you going to do if you get a phone call from someone who only speaks Spanish? You need to think this thing through. So you need to partner up with someone who speaks Spanish. And if you want to get into the Spanish speaking market, then Jimmy, think it all the way through, meaning, all right, who's going to pick up the phone when the call comes in? Who's going to do the listing? Like, if someone truly doesn't speak any English at all and only Spanish, and they want to sell a home, then you need to find someone who on your team that speaks Spanish, is bilingual. But just to answer your question, how do you do Spanish letters? I would do Google Translate, number one. Then to take all the letters and use that, it's free. And then I would get someone on Upwork and proofread it, or look for Spanish translation services. And I'd say, hey, I proofread this. Does this make sense? And they can go and make corrections. That's going to be faster and cheaper than hiring an individual to go in and translate all of it for you. Once you've done that, think it through all the way. Like, okay, imagine you send these letters out, you get a call. So, hola, Jimmy, ¿cómo estás? And you're like, buenos días, right? If you speak Spanish, that's awesome. Then you also know how to write Spanish. Is that helpful, Jimmy? You're good? All right. Okay, so Elena is asking, hi, would you recommend using a business or my name for this business? Also, would you advise using my broker's mailing address or my PO box? So it all depends. Yesterday on the UPLC call, we talked about branding. So some of you were on that call as well yesterday. Branding is the experience that people have with a company. So think about the most, think about the companies that you have the greatest connection with, right? And yesterday I had this question on UPLC, and people say anywhere from Starbucks to Nordstrom to Costco to Tiffany's, Apple. Those are like high ranking company names, and these are also names like when we think of them, we have a certain association with. But your absolute favorite brand and favorite company, it's going to have an emotional connection with you, right? So when you say things like, well, should I use my name or for my business, or should I come up with a business name? You can, if you're just starting out real estate, just start with your name and put it out there. If you've been around for a while and you've used your name all this time, then keep using your name. There's something to be said about using a company name. That's a benefit as well. But it comes back to, like, how do you want to lead this market with? Like, how do you want to lead with your approach to talking to petitioners? Do you want to have that one-on-one feeling with them? Or do you want to come across as like, we're a company, we can take care of all your needs, and we can put you in touch with all these providers and all that? It really is up to you and how you want to present yourself to the prospects. And I've had several companies, and I've consulted with many companies. I've always done company name versus my own name. It's only when I started doing coaching a few years ago and I took on like CEOs and top producing agents and all that, and I started saying, okay, well, you're coaching with me. It's a one-on-one thing. And it's so I just used my own personal name. I didn't have like a company name around it. Just like, the Buffini system or Mike Ferry, they use their names because it's coaching. So you have to decide what brand you want to lead with and how you want to be known in the industry. And as far as mailing address, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you trust your broker, then use your broker's address, right? But if you're someone that skips brokers all the time, and every 6 weeks, every 6 months, or every year, you're going from one broker to the next, then use a PO box. I hear great things about agencies that are 100% virtual. Like I heard EXP, if you guys are familiar with that. So you know, maybe you don't need a broker's address. Maybe you just need a PO box. Okay, so Joyce is asking, and I don't understand the question, Joyce, maybe you can mute yourself. I would like to brand the responsibilities of an executor. Where do I find this content, and can you demonstrate how to brand it? I want to set a potential client via email. So Joyce, tell me, I think I understand what you're asking, but let's talk about what's your motivation behind it. What do you really want to achieve and accomplish? And why do you want that? And then we'll talk about resources. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Joyce Marie. Go ahead, Joyce Marie, we can hear you now. Or not. I think your microphone's not working. So let me just answer the question as I read it. And if you figure out your microphone situation, just interrupt me and then we can discuss it. The way I read it is, how do I find the content of all the stuff that PRs are going through, and how do I brand that? So there's two ways you can do that. Just look at the manual from CPress. There's all the responsibilities that the PR's got to go through. And then you can take that and you can rewrite it. You can use the executives' duties and responsibilities. There's a whole flow chart on that. There's also, if you're in UPLC, there's the ebook material. There's all the responsibilities I mentioned in there, and there's different flow charts, and there's programs in there you can use. So you can repurpose some of that, content if you want to. And then you can just Google, petitioner or executive administrator, probate executive administrator responsibilities. And I'm sure you'll find like some blog or some interesting content out there written by paralegals and attorneys, and you can do that. Elena's telling me privately that this is for Jimmy Stewart, Fiverr does translations. So you might try Fiverr and say, hey, I have these documents translated into Spanish. I will tell you, with translations, you want to do a double translation. You want to go from English to Spanish and then get someone else, the Spanish, to put back into English. And then you can see that, if it translated correctly. Because if you're translating to Spanish into a language that you don't understand, then you really want to cover your basics, cover your butt, as they say. We once did a program a while ago in a business where we were marketing to Korean speaking population. And I had the hunch to let me go and reverse translate this just to make sure we're good. And sure enough, there was tons of mistakes, and then we didn't send the piece out, and that was a good thing. We fixed it eventually,
I'm somewhat comfortable with Spanish.
All right, good. All right, good stuff.
Just Farsi, I'm not.
Farsi, I'll teach you. Don't worry about it. I don't know if you want to start doing business with Iranians, though. Right now, Iranians are the ones from Iran. I'm not saying Iranians in America. I'm half Iranian, so I'm not going to talk smack about them. But Iran's sending all that voter stuff out, manipulation and sending. I guess it's coming from Russia and from Iran. So I don't know if you want to attract those guys. All right, Tucker, go ahead, Claire.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask a quick questions about Fiverr. I was the first after we talked about it in the last class. I went in and I was looking up phone numbers. So, but latest in the latest is that every time I go into Fiverr, it just is just for choosing or looking for a virtual assistant. So for some reason, I can't find where to click to look for the phone numbers anymore. You know how you put the address or the name of the person and you get all the phone numbers?
Yeah. So you talking about finding the person on Fiverr that does that for you?
No. I was trying to look up the phone numbers myself.
I see.
By inputting the name of the person. And
On Fiverr?
On Fiverr, I thought it was.
No, you don't. No, you don't use Fiverr for that. You use all these other resources. We have a whole list of.
Yeah, I have a list.
I'll post. Yeah, so you have that whole list. So use that list to find phone numbers. The reason you go on Fiverr is to hire someone to do skip tracing for you, and they'll use programs like TLO and LexisNexis and Bin Verified, and they'll find the phone numbers for you, so you don't have to go into these other services and do it yourself.
Okay, I just went into the wrong one then. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right, I think Joyce Marie's back in action. I think she jumped off and came back. Joyce Marie, if you want to unmute yourself and kind of explain your question, we can tackle it together. Joyce Marie, I see you unmuted yourself, but we're still not hearing you. I'm sorry. You know, in your lower left-hand corner of your interface, there's a microphone icon, and click on the arrow that shows up like that, and it'll tell you which options you have for microphone, and maybe try selecting something else. You might be trying to connect to something that's not connected to your. There we
Yes.
go. I heard a crack. Yes, we got you.
Good
Yay.
advice. Awesome. So, hi everybody. Listen,
Hi.
so I have a potential client that's trying to do estate planning, and they have property that they may need to sell at some point. So I'm trying to introduce them to the the responsibilities of an executor. So what I wanted to do, I was looking in UPLC so I can find that particular infographic or information that I
Uh-huh.
can brand with my branding on it, and then send to them via email. And but I couldn't find that exact information. I
Yeah.
saw a lot of different things, but I couldn't find that.
Yeah. Okay. So let me give you. That's a UPLC question. I'll tell you real quick where to find it. You go into your training portal, and you go into UPLC like the PDF downloads, and in there, one of them is called petition responsibilities. It says flow chart of duties and responsibilities. Just grab that one and give them that, and that has your name on it and everything and your phone number. Just give them that, and it's a PDF. So if you want to change it, you can edit it and do whatever you want with it. You could just get Adobe Reader and then you edit it, and then you hand them that, right? It gives them a flow chart. So you've educated them and you've informed them what the responsibilities are, but also like you're telling them like, look, this, I know this process. I'm going to help you through the whole process once you file for probate, you know, and
Awesome.
also make sure that you don't get into the gray area of giving legal advice. Uh,
Absolutely. So
This is
I have an attorney on
this is
standby who does
yeah,
that, who
yeah,
actually is hosting a seminar on estate planning for me.
beautiful, beautiful, well done. And how did you find this attorney, Joyce?
About 2 years ago, he was doing it for sale by owner. I didn't know he was attorney at the time. I went by there after church one Sunday, and divinely we just hooked up. And he told me, asked me, did he have everything you need? Did he have all his documents? And I told him, I see you have everything laid out very nicely, staged well. And he explained to me that he was an attorney. He did have another realtor friend, like who kind of gave him some tips. And when I asked him, what type of law do you practice? He says he's an estate planning attorney, and we just hooked up from there, and we've been hooked up ever since. He's given me about 3 or 4 leads since then that I've closed on, and I've sent people his way as well. So
I
we
love it.
stay connected.
That's beautiful, and I love how you placed it. You say we just divinely connected. It was just one of those things. The universe put you together for a reason, and 2 years later, you guys have a mutually beneficial and very symbiotic relationship. That's awesome.
I,
Thanks for
I
asking that
even
question, and thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. I even sold one of his properties.
There you go.
Hmm.
There you go. You know, trust transmutes everything. Like, so once you establish trust with someone through probate, they're going to think of you in other areas too, because whenever something comes up that has where you need trust and confidence around real estate, they're going to think of you as well, right? You helped them through something that was challenging called probate. So now if you're helping an attorney, like Joyce Marie just said, like I sold one of his properties. He's an attorney. He can sell it himself, right? He doesn't need a real estate agent, but he's got so much other stuff going. This, and the reason I'm bringing this up because a lot of times I hear from agents saying, "Well, why should I talk to attorneys? They're probably just going to list it themselves." They could, but honestly, and we'll talk on November 17th. We'll talk about how to talk to attorneys. We're going to have Greg Royston on as a guest speaker. That's one of the Tuesday classes. So I guess that's 3 weeks out. Um, they don't want to fiddle with that. You just want to be done with it and want to have an expert handle it. And hence, that's where you come in. So Joyce Marie's story here is a perfect example of how trust really transmutes and it breaks down all barriers. So now they think of you as a trustworthy person, right?
Hey,
All right.
Jonathan, he even
Yeah.
used me. He bought a commercial building,
Yeah.
and so I'm not, I don't know anything about commercial. I referred it to someone in my company, so I got the referral fee,
Yeah.
and he's still my client. So I sold the property for him, and then he referred about 3 or 4 probates to me, and then because I didn't do commercial, I didn't have experience, he used me as the referral agent to someone who does do commercial in my
Yeah.
agent in my brokerage. And so I got the referral fee. and we're still connected. And now he's agreed to do uh, Zoom seminars for me about estate planning
That's
and trust.
wonderful. That's wonderful. That's amazing. That's great. That's really great. And, you have what's called a fiduciary responsibility to your clients, which means you always have their interests at heart, even if it means you're not going to be working on their deal. So like commercial real estate, you're like, yeah, I could wing it. I'll make all this commission, but really like you knew that he'll be better served if you brought an expert in, and that's exactly what you did. And that's what
Absolutely.
probably what he appreciated, right?
Right.
All right, let's keep going down the questions here. Thank you, Joyce Marie. Tucker, you want to unmute yourself? What are the basics of probate? That's a loaded question. I'm not going to answer that. Somebody else answer it. Tucker, go ahead and unmute yourself, and then I see what your question is, but I want to understand your motivation behind asking it. If you're brand new, you haven't done anything yet, so I can kind of inform you a little bit better. And then I'm going to pick on someone to explain it to you. Tucker, where you at? Tucker. Where is Tucker? Tucker, I want to ask you to unmute yourself. All right, so if you don't unmute yourself, I'm just going to give you the basic answer. But the basic, so if you just signed up like a few days ago for CPRES and you haven't done any of the courses, any of the classes, any of that, haven't watched any videos, you haven't taken the test, I'm going to give you just the headline definition of what the basic of probate is, and then you got to dive through and take all your classes. And then I'll tell you the basics of it as well after you've taken all these classes, right? The answer is pretty much going to be the same. So the basic of probate is settling an estate after someone passes away and they don't have a fully vested living trust. 95% of the time that happens for Americans. That means everything they own has to go through probate, which is a public process of settling all the outstanding debts and accounts. Now, most of the time they have a piece of real estate that they live in, like a home, and that's going to get sold as well because their name is on title. And so since they passed away, that property can't be sold from that person because that person passed away. So the courts came up with this thing roughly 300 years ago saying, was it 265 years ago, that basically we now have to have a process by which we can liquidate all the assets, pay off all the creditors, and pass on the inheritance down to the beneficiaries. So that's what probate is. And in that process, there's different timelines that you'll learn from the CPRES program. And there's all these things going on, right? So that's the basics of probate. That's what that means. If you want more, just find a way to unmute yourself or type it in the Q&A box and we can have someone else tell you a little bit more. Elena saying, thank you. If I use a company, do I need, so this is Elena following up on her, go with my name or go with a company name. I think you do need liability insurance, but I'm not an expert. You should talk to an insurance agent about that or to your broker. Matt Tucker saying, I don't have a mic, I'm brand new. Okay, good. Sonia saying, I haven't done one transaction, although I have passed the test a while back. So Sonia, what's your question? What is your question? I'm assuming the question is, how do I get
Yes, my question is, I am not sure exactly where to start.
Okay.
I've been a member of this group for a long time.
Okay.
And I've been with other things, and I really would like to start taking advantage of this angle of the business. So
Yeah.
what do you recommend that I do to get comfortable?
Well, if
System.
yeah, so if you saw a kid crawling, just learning how to walk,
Yeah.
and you looked at this kid and then she gets up and then she stumbled around after 1 or 2 steps, she falls, right? Like, do you tell the kid, like, just forget it, go back to crawling or keep going, and eventually you start walking? You tell them, just keep going, eventually you start walking. So you've tipped your toe in the water and you're afraid to jump in, and because you're not quite sure how to swim, right? So I'm not saying just jump in because you might drown, but basically you got to get started. You got to jump in and do something, right? So we have plenty of material on the training portal. If you've been certified, you have the coaching in there, you have the CPRES community, you have your Facebook. There's a lot you can do, but the first thing you got to do is take your leads and contact them. call them, mail them, and follow up. Those are the only things you got to do. If you have a cell phone number, text them, and just reach out. Let them know that you're there to help them. Let them know that you emphasize with them, and just
How do I
reach out.
pick the leads? How do I select what
So,
area?
which market are you in?
I'm in Long Beach area.
Long Beach, perfect. Yeah, we got plenty of leads there, right? So you're in probate data. That means we email you leads whenever we upload cases to our database. So you probably have a
Mhm.
bunch of leads sitting in your inbox. That's one source where you can get them.
Okay.
Another source is you can log into probatedata.com. You go to probatedata.com, you log in, and you can download your leads there and go back and say, well, give me leads for the last month or so in Los Angeles. You can search by zip code. You can do all those things. You just get your
Yeah.
leads. But what I would do, honestly, just look through your inbox and look for in the subject says platinum probate or platinum service. Your leads are here, and you just download all those leads. That's what you're paying for. And then you have a spreadsheet with leads, and a lot of them have phone numbers, and we have mailing addresses too. And you just start reaching out to them. Like Mike Torres always teaches, step one is get your leads. Step two, prep your leads, meaning find phone numbers, mailing address, all that. Step three, contact your leads. That's it, 3 steps, and then rinse and repeat. And then next week you follow up with those leads. You just have to reach out. That's all you got to do.
Okay.
If you don't know what to say, there's scripts on the portal, right? On the CPRES portal, there's scripts in there. If you're part of UPLC, there's tons of material there as well.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got distracted by the robocall.
I get it.
So pick the lead. Just pick an area. Do you pick them by zip code or what?
I would just pick all of LA County, throw the biggest net out there. You know, it's a hot market. I get it. So if you just narrow yourself down to like, say, a handful of zip codes, you're not going to see a lot of action. You got to get a little bit outside your comfort zone. And if you happen to get a listing opportunity that's really far away from you, you say, I'll take the listing, but let me partner up with someone who's a specialist in that area, right? If you don't want to drive up, like say, an hour to LA, even though I guess now it's faster because there's less traffic, you can partner with someone in LA, and you go into the Facebook community and say, hey, I need someone in LA County. I know we have many really good agents in LA County. And can I refer this to you, or will you help me list it? And you go from there. But the first thing, Sonia, is just get started, reach out. And once you have someone that wants to list with you, that's called the problem of abundance. Now you got to figure out how to connect the dots. And then that's when your creativity sets in.
I see. Okay.
All righty.
I'll try this week. Thank you.
No, don't try. Go do it.
Okay.
Go make 50 calls.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your question. Oops. All right. Let's see here. Karina is asking, is there a coaching program available through the company? Privet, I guess it's private or otherwise. Okay. We don't have a coaching program per se. We have these coaching calls that we do, which are group coaching and Q&A and all that, but we don't have a private coaching program. We've talked about it, but we haven't launched it. John King is saying, I am in Chicagoland area. If anyone would like to network with me, so anyone in Chicago, go ahead and network with John. Hey, so just for an FYI, you know, if you're in a county that happens to have little action, or you feel like you want to go out of your comfort zone, then you might want to look at Chicago, go, hey, Chicago, there's a lot going on, but I'm not in Chicago, but this guy John wants to network. Oops. But hold on, that's Molly. Let me just make sure that's nothing urgent. She knows I'm on a call with you guys. Give me a second, okay? PD Powergym. Sorry, guys. I usually don't do this, only if it's unusual. And this is a little unusual. I usually don't get calls from Molly in the middle of a class. Let's see if she gets back to me. So the point I was trying to make is, like, you can easily reach out of your area. I've talked about this in the past. Like, find a way. Like, look, let's say like John King. He's like, well, if you have someone in Chicago that wants to, you need referrals for Chicago, I'm here to work with you. So you might look up cases where the petitioner lives in California or in Los Angeles, even, let's say you're Los Angeles, but the estate is in Chicago. You might say, hey, John, you know, why don't I go warm up the petitioner and say we're a team and you'll be my Chicago connection. And then that saves the PR trip to go to Chicago. I'll go do the presentation and all that. And I'll list it, or maybe you list it, and we figure out referral fee. You guys can figure the numbers afterwards. You guys are very capable of doing that. All I'm saying is be creative about how you approach your marketing. You could say, well, you know, if I find a list of PRs that are in my area, but the property's in Chicago, John, would you be interested in partnering up in some way? Because now I can be the face, and we can do this together. If there's value in that, that's just one idea. So think about that. John, is that something you'll be open to?
Yeah, I'm always open to networking with others. I get my leads from MTI, Probate Data, and then I start with the outside petitioners, out-of-state petitioners. But there's just so many probate cases from Cook County, DuPage,
Yeah.
Lake County that I only can service, you know, maybe 15, 16 zip codes. You know, other than that, there's just so many that they're just falling to the wayside that I'd love to network with other people. And plus, I run into people who have multiple properties. So they may have one in Illinois in my area that I farm, and then they may have one in Florida. They may have one in Georgia and other places. So yes, I'd love to network with anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thanks for putting that out there. That's again called the problem of abundance, right? And that's how you can start networking. So if I were John, I would, you know, if I want to network with John, then I would look at this. I would look at this and say, well, how can let's say if John says, well, I have a lot of people in Georgia, like who's in Georgia wants to partner up with me, or I have a lot of people in LA or in California who wants to partner with me in California. And then you guys can open your network up a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yes. Also, as a licensed realtor, you know, I have to watch my P's and Q's when I'm dealing with people out of state anyway. And a lot of times it's easier just to network or refer business back and forth to other licensed brokers in other estates. It just protects all of us all around.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to share with you, Jonathan, is what I send out is that email is of service. You know, anybody can list their home. They can list it themselves nowadays. And then anybody can, you know, any investor can come in and purchase the property and they want little or nothing. But when I come in as service, and that first email that I'll send them, or first letter, and I send them a timeline, probate timeline, and I send them also the executor duties. I mean, as we talked about before, my other closings, those people love that. Even though they got 5, 6, 7 different letters from other people, we were the only ones to offer them any type of information that even their attorneys didn't offer. The attorneys know everything. They say, hey, don't worry, we got a court date in 2 months. Don't forget the date, be prepared. But in the meantime, we've given them the probate timeline. We've given them the executor duties. And yeah, everybody knows a realtor. So it's not like, you know, hey, listen, I got this covered. I get that. Or my attorney's covering it. I get that. But when we keep following up, giving them the timeline, giving them the executor duties. If you have the website like I do, and we send them to that website, and there's even more 21 weeks of automatic emails they get, sooner or later, they're going to pull that trigger. It's not going to be right away, but sooner or later they will. And when you're that person and Johnny on the spot, sooner or later, I just want to hear them say no. Tell me no, and on I go. And then I come back as a purchaser and say, here, I have a buyer for your home, because I have people that cash close quick. So, you know, yes, I want to help them with all my different services. Yes, I want to list it. But in the bigger picture of it, if they don't want to deal with anybody and they just want to sell it, listen, we have buyers too. And that's usually how I go about it. But it's just a follow-up, like Jonathan says.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. So John, I'm curious, when you're leading with that house, number one, what kind of results are you getting out of that in terms of listing activity? But also, even if you're not getting a listing, you're knowing that it wasn't meant to be. What's it like to lead with that way of service orientation versus, hey, I got a buyer for you, or I want to list your house?
Well, because, you know, most brokers, once they call and that person doesn't want to list the home, because really they can't. You know, most of the time, the first 90 days, they have no idea what to do. The attorneys tell them, don't do nothing, don't sell nothing, don't buy nothing until you talk to me, until we get administration from the judge. And then what happens is, in the meantime, we're planting seeds. We're the farmer. And now we're getting to know them. They're realizing we're the only ones. Yes, some people get aggravated with my follow-up, but you know what? Sooner or later, they know my number, they know me, and if something comes up and all of a sudden they got to sell, guess who they're calling? And some of those
Yeah.
most irate people have turned around and said, you know what? I appreciate it, because, you know, no doesn't mean no now. No means just at the time I'm calling them. Yeah, and there's a whole lot of things going on. I mean, I've called teachers and they're teaching. I've called other people, but I'm going to call, I'm going to call, I'm going to follow up. And that's
Yeah.
really the key.
Yeah. Yeah. And also what we learn is no usually just mean not now or not yet. It doesn't mean no, not ever, right? So those are good. Thanks for sharing that, John. That's really appreciated. Thank you so much. All right, so Janine, I'm looking at the email you sent me and that got rejected by Earthlink. So a couple things that pop up for me is the subject line is interested in selling ? And then there's an icon of a house, and then the S is like a $sign. So that maybe you want to change that to actually just S instead of a $sign. And then also with Earthlink, they might have something against your domain. So one of the things that I would do is a domain check with your realtornelson.com, right? So let's see here. Yeah, Janine at Realtor. So realtornelson.com. I would check that out with like different domain domain service. So there's something called MX Toolbox. Let me look it up. MX Toolbox. And I'll tell you how your domain is doing. So let me see here if there's anything here. realtornelson.com. I'm going to share my screen as soon as if I see anything interesting. No, your domain looks clean. And your email service provider is Microsoft Office. Let's see if there's any blacklisting going on. No, you have a clean list. I mean, there's none of that going on. So is this, Janine, is this usually with Earthlink you're getting these things? Because then you might have to check with Earthlink why your email is being rejected and then dig a little bit deeper there. And again, the only thing I can think of just a quick look is your subject, instead of using symbols like selling, because they're very sensitive right now to things that involve money, right? Because there's a lot of spam going on, like I said before. And then there's even here how to fix it, bulk emailing and best practice for senders. So I would read those to see if there's something you can do. So I'm sorry, that's all I can tell you without knowing any more. I would just check with Earthlink and then also look at their recommendations, what they're saying in terms of how to clean that up. Maybe there's something on Earthlink that you're triggering something on them. So I would look at the ones that are being rejected, which providers are they. If they're all Earthlink, then it's worth reaching out to Earthlink and say, hey, what's going on, right? They might have some filters set up. And then if it's something you need to worry about or you want to worry about, then you need to dig deeper. If it's just one DNS provider, one email provider like Earthlink, and everybody else is fine, then don't worry. Then just call them up and say, look, I'm trying to reach you. And then maybe instead of emailing them, if you have their cell phone, then text them like, this email got rejected, but I really want to make sure you get this message. Send them a video message or something, you know? All right. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Any other last minute questions? I don't see any. I think we're good. Thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it. It would be really dull if you weren't here. I'll just be talking to myself. Appreciate you for showing up and keep doing the good work that you're doing out there. Your work is needed, your integrity is needed, and your follow through is needed. Just think about all the PRs, all the petitioners that are going through a tough situation right now, in addition to the stress of, you know, the economy, COVID, presidential elections, outcomes, civil unrest, blah, 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 that everyone is facing. They're also facing the uncertainty of and the difficulty of going through probate. So when you reach out, be that voice of reason, that voice of empathy, that voice of that's mission driven, and reach out and help them and talk to them that way and get through to them that way. And I trust me, the value add to one area in their life is going to bleed into all the other areas of their life. And you're going to feel it too. It's a full 360 circle, 360 degrees. So with that, I'll send you off into the night, so to speak, and enjoy your open houses, virtual or otherwise. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and wash those hands. Bye, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too. Bye, Clara. Bye, everybody.